Hello, and welcome to another episode of Coffee with Capril. All right, so I've been away the last couple of weeks, went on vacation, and when I got back, the former president, was convicted. Now, anytime you talk about presidents, you always run the risk here of annoying people, right? Because depending on your party affiliation, you may like this person, you may not like this person. All right. I try very hard to be respectful of everybody's beliefs, religious beliefs, political beliefs, and I think I do a pretty good job, to be honest with you. At the same time, I'm not afraid to let people know where I stand, and I am a conservative. All right. So when people ask me who I'm going to vote for, the answer is always the most conservative candidate, both socially and politically. Okay. We're all Americans. And that's not to say that members of the other party can't do a better job. It's just that the way my mindset is set up and the way that my experience in the world, I pretty much have a general attitude that nothing that we ever do is ever going to make life fair. So we have to try to do is develop a system that creates the least amount of misery. And as a result of that, I've been a firm believer since my 20s that free market capitalism is the way to do that. And so efforts to minimize free market capitalism through some type of spreading the wealth through government, it doesn't work, in my opinion. I've never seen an example where it has worked. I mean, it just usually creates more misery. All right, now, that is the basis of everything else that I believe in. And I will always then support the candidate who does that. So we got a situation now. Donald Trump, he gets convicted, 34 counts for like $136,000. Kind of funny because the guy's worth like $7 billion. It was, I think we can all agree, it was politically motivated. These charges, whatever. Question is, how's that going to affect things? How's it going to affect me? How's it going to affect you? How's it going to affect the markets? And there's only one answer I can give you. I don't know. I do know this. The markets already factored in the probability that he was going to get convicted anyway. So that's why you didn't see a whole lot of movement because, I mean, let's face it, he's being tried in New York, and it was pretty obvious where this one was going to go, right? What's interesting is it is going to be a test constitutionally how we go forward. I mean, there's nothing to stop the man from running from president from jail. He says he's going to do that. I don't think he's going to jail, by the way. To me, I think it was you or me that was being charged with this. We'd probably pay a fine, and that would be it. But nonetheless, the truth of the matter is that this was already factored into the price of equities. It's what we don't know that's going to move it. Now, right now, the market is assuming that Trump wins. Why do I say that? Because that's what the polls say. Just like 8 years ago, the market was assuming that Hillary Clinton was going to win. And when she didn't, what happened? There was a quick drop. You know what, though? Didn't last very long. Why? Well, because with every candidate, depending on who they win, depending on who wins, some companies are going to benefit and others aren't. So by Trump winning, a different set of winners appeared that wouldn't necessarily have been the case had Hillary won. It's kind of the way that it works. Smart companies actually give money to both candidates as a way to hedge their bets. Now, I said this many, many times, and history bears it out for me. It really doesn't matter who wins elections. We've had good and bad economic times with both parties. You can make the argument that some might be better than others, but history just doesn't bear that out. So it's really not going to be that much of a factor. The economy is too big. I do think a president can wreck things, but I really don't think a president, regardless of who they are, can really have that much of an overall impact. I think ultimately, as long as we have a free market capital system where sort of a free market capitalist system, we can do well. But it's going to be natural if you watch a lot of news, which what I'm going to tell you is don't watch a lot of news. Read it. Don't watch it. Sadly, though, we don't get news anymore today. We just don't. It's opinion pieces. And so you really can't just go for good explanation any longer. It's certainly not with the mainstream ones. I think the Wall Street Journal does still the best job of giving both sides of an argument, but that's a conservative paper, though. I will be the first one to tell you, as a conservative. The New York Times, I read it for the first time when I was on vacation in years, because that was the only English-speaking paper we got, and it's just editorial pieces. I mean, as I'm I went to journalism school, college, and they drilled it in our head not to use adjectives for the most part, not to use adjectives that expressed your opinion. So I could say, like, this lid here is blue. What I couldn't say is this is a lousy blue lid. Okay. If I wanted to make the argument that it was lousy, I had to cite facts, but I still couldn't say it was lousy. I could quote somebody else who says it's lousy, but then I was required to provide input from whoever manufactured this lid. See the difference? Great movie, All the President's Men, written during the Nixon administration. Shows you the length that the Washington Post went to make sure that they were providing some level of objectivity. And that's a liberal paper, right? But back then they had a journalism standard and they lived by it. Today, that's all been thrown out the window from all parties, from all sides. So you're not getting useful information. So look, my advice has always been, don't get too caught up in this stuff, okay? The things we worry about rarely happen. But the only thing you can worry about that's going to happen, well, two things. You're going to pay taxes and you're going to die someday. That's it. Everything else, you don't really know. And as I've said many times, you're only allowed to hold one thought in your head at a time. So why focus on that? Focus on the sunrise. Focus on your grandchildren's faces. Those are the things that are going to matter. So we'll see how this election bears itself out. I think there's a few issues that transcend politics that are going to motivate a lot of people to come on out. Unfortunately, the personalities are so strong that that's what drives people. There's such a dislike for the personalities that becomes the motivating factor as opposed to the issues. We saw that during the Clinton administration, and we're seeing it now with Trump and Biden. So who knows? Let's just maintain a level of civility with one another. Okay. Let's remember that we're all on the same team. We're all Americans, and we really should want the same thing. We just have some disagreements about how to go about and do that. But I'm going to be different I'm going to view things differently the way you're going to view things. It doesn't make you right and me wrong, or me right and you wrong. Thankfully, we live in a place where we can do that. We can disagree. All right. So if you have any questions, please, as always, reach out to me. This is going to be a very interesting election season. I actually kind of look forward to it.